Welcome, FJA students, to another edition of Math Notebooks. Today, we are going to be doing adding rational numbers, and the only piece of paper you're going to need is this one right here, your notebook, pencil, of course. Actually, today I'm going to recommend maybe like a highlighter or something to add a little color, scissors, and then instead of glue today, actually it's better to have tape. It doesn't have to be clear tape like this. Really, any kind of tape will do. The first thing we're going to do, though, is cut out our pieces here and then write adding rational numbers at the top. So our first step is we're going to want we've got two pages here, one with the tab on the right, one with the tab on the left. And you're going to want the one with the tab on the left that says adding rational numbers with the same sign on top. And then I'm actually going to take just a little bit of tape and just along this top bit here, tape these together. Now that they're stuck together, we're going to tape along the top so that both of these stick to the page, and then also make sure that you just fold so that there's a fold along this solid line here. And so I'm going to tape right along there. So let's read through this together. When adding rational numbers, and remember a rational number is a fraction, an integer, really any number that can be expressed using a ratio or a fraction. So even decimals, like 2.5, we know is actually 2 and 1/2. But really any numbers, positive, negative, that can be expressed as a rational. So when adding rational numbers with the same sign, add the values of the numbers and keep their sign. So an example is 2.5 plus 3.5 equals 6, and -4 plus -7 equals -11. And so on the back here, I'm really quickly going to do a couple of other practice problems, and I would encourage you to write your own, but if you can't, then just wait for me to get done writing mine, and then you can copy those. So you'll notice in these, while number 2 and number 3, both of these numbers were negative that we added together, because the numbers have the same sign, so it's a negative plus a negative, all I've got to do in order to do this is add them together just like I normally would, and then I'm going to insert that sign again. So I added positive 1.45 and positive 0.25 to get 1.75, and my answer is still negative 1.70 because I bring that sign that they both shared. However, when adding rational numbers with different signs, subtract the value of the two numbers and use the sign of the number with the higher value. So in this sample problem here, we have 4.5 plus negative 7.5. So what we would end up doing is we would subtract the numbers to find the difference between them, and then we would use the sign of the number with the highest value. So we've got negative 0.75, and that's a higher absolute value, so a further distance from 0 than 4.5. So we're going to keep that negative sign. Just like in this problem, 2 plus -3 equals -1. And let's do just another couple sample problems right back here. All right, and just to review these problems here, you'll notice in number 2, it's 4 plus -6.2 equals, well, I subtract 4.0 from 6.2, I get 2.2, and I know that because the 6.2 is the larger number with the greater absolute value, and it has a negative sign in front of it, then my answer will have a negative sign. However, in problem 3 here, negative 0.25 plus 1.45, which is a positive number, I still subtract, so I take 1.45 minus 0.25 and get the difference, which is 1.2. And then the question becomes, what sign will that 1.2 have? Well, because negative 0.25 is smaller than positive 1.45, 1.2, the answer here is going to have a positive sign. So it's positive 1.2. The last thing that we're going to do really quickly here, we can close this up. There's a kind of a neat little drawing that I'm going to do right down here, so follow along with me while I do it, and I'll explain after I am done. So you'll notice I added a little bit of color here to highlight what's going on. So this is a little bit of a chart, and so what it's telling you is that when we're thinking about adding rational numbers, if we have a rational number that, or if we're adding two rational numbers and they each have a positive sign, we're going to look at this place right here in our chart. So positive and positive. So this is one number, this is the other number. We're going to end with a positive sign. If both numbers have a negative sign, one number and one number, we're going to follow over and they both have a negative sign. However, if one has a positive and one has a negative, then we are going to subtract and then the answer is going to have the sign of the number that had the higher value. And the same, if one number is negative and another number is positive, then we are going to subtract, and the number with the highest value, we're going to keep that sign. Thanks for tuning in. Hope this was helpful and a little bit of fun.